Welcome back to Dieu Han RV. Another day, another story that might stay with you longer than you expect. Here, we don't tell fairy tales. We tell the truth about pain, survival, and the quiet strength of those who were never given an easy life. So take a breath. You're not just watching a video, you're walking into someone's reality, and this time, that someone is running for her life. After narrowly escaping from a kidnapper, Chen is still not safe. She's alone, scared, and constantly looking over her shoulder. But Dieu Han is racing against time, desperate to find her best friend before the worst happens. And there's a man, quiet but determined, willing to risk everything to help them both. The road ahead is dangerous. The shadows are real, but in moments like this, even the smallest act of courage could save a life. We'll help arrive in time. The police had received the call the night before. A young woman, possibly in danger, possibly missing. Now, they stood in front of the house, eyes cautious, hearts unsure. The place looked quiet, but danger doesn't always scream. One of them walked slowly around the property, noting the silence, the shut windows. Something didn't feel right. They weren't just investigating a report. They were stepping into a story where every second could mean life or death. If this story touches you, stay with us. Click subscribe, like the video, and share it with someone who still believes in second chances, because sometimes one click can help a soul feel seen, heard, and not so alone. The officer stood at the gate, clipboard in hand, his expression serious but not unkind. Next to him, the kind man held the child gently in his arms, shielding the boy from the heat. Dieu Han watched quietly, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. She had filed the report, but seeing an actual officer made everything more real and more terrifying. Would they take Chen's case seriously? Would they believe her? In that moment, she wasn't just a worried friend. She was a mother praying for justice, and a woman desperate to protect what was left of her broken little world. The officer asked simple questions at first. When did Chen go missing? What she was wearing? Who she might have seen? Dieu Han answered as clearly as she could, though her hands were shaking. The man holding the child kept glancing at her with quiet encouragement. He hadn't said a word, but his presence was a silent promise she wasn't alone. For someone who had carried too many burdens alone, that meant more than words. The officer finally nodded, jotting something down. He said they'd investigate, but her eyes could see what his words tried to hide. This wasn't going to be easy. The officer took his time, asking clear questions and noting every detail with calm precision. Dieu Han's voice trembled as she answered, her eyes darting toward her child every few seconds. The man beside her gently held the boy, whispering soothing words to calm him. It wasn't just an investigation. It was a lifeline being thrown in the middle of her chaos. Someone was finally listening. And for once, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen, and maybe even a little safer. Every detail was handled with care, as if the truth itself was fragile. The officer leaned in, repeating each word Dieu Han shared, ensuring nothing was missed. The man beside her gave her a quiet nod, his presence grounding her. For a moment, the fear melted into something softer: trust. The kind of trust that takes root when people do the right thing without expecting applause. That moment didn't fix everything, but it was a start. And starts mattered. The officer gave Dieu Han a calm, steady look. He reassured her that they would investigate thoroughly and leave no detail overlooked. Though his words were measured, there was quiet empathy in his tone. He had seen fear like hers before. Dieu Han lowered her eyes, quietly taking in his words, her mind swirling with worry. Before leaving, the officer promised to follow up soon. Then he turned and walked away, leaving behind the weight of a promise. Dieu Han stepped back into the house. The silence inside felt heavier than ever. Broken furniture and scattered clothes made the room look like a storm had passed through. But it wasn't just the room, it was their lives too. Chen was already picking things up, quietly, with care. No words were exchanged, but the way he moved said everything. They weren't cleaning a house. They were trying to piece their lives back together, one fragment at a time. Chen moved carefully, as if touching someone's memories. Each object told a story, some painful, some full of hope. Dieu Han watched him, grateful but distant. It was strange how someone she barely knew now stood in the middle of her chaos, helping, not asking questions, not judging, just being there, steady and kind. Sometimes healing didn't need grand gestures. Sometimes it was found in shared silence and gentle hands. The light filtering through the window softened everything. Dust danced in there, glowing like tiny hopes, then reached for a torn curtain and gently folded it. Diep Han noticed his hands. Rough but careful, hands that had seen hardship, just like hers. Maybe that's why it felt easier to breathe. She didn't feel alone anymore. In that mess of broken things and broken dreams, there was suddenly a small, steady rhythm of hope. Han arrived not long after, bringing with him a quiet strength. He didn't ask questions, just rolled up his sleeves and joined in. The three of them worked together, side by side. Like a small team bound not by blood, but by necessity and empathy. There was comfort in their shared silence, and purpose in their every move. What they lost couldn't be fixed in one day, but this was a beginning, and sometimes a beginning was all you needed. As the room slowly returned to order, they sat down for a moment to breathe. Han glanced at both of them and spoke calmly. "We need a plan." They knew he was right. Survival wasn't just about food or shelter now. It was about finding safety for all of them. The next step wouldn't be easy, but with heads bowed together in hushed conversation, they began shaping a path forward, a path out of fear, and toward something more. The conversation turned to what mattered most. Yen. To Than's surprise, Han had heard of her. They pieced together what little they knew, mapping out every possible lead, every name, every town, every shadow she might have crossed. There wasn't much, but it was enough to start. One thread, one clue, one chance. They didn't say much, but their eyes met with quiet resolve. This afternoon, a plan was born, not perfect, but hopeful. They stood before the gate of Mr. Chen's house. Dieu Han RV. She didn't say much, but her hand tightened slightly around Than's arm, as if bracing for something difficult. The old wooden door seemed heavier than before, as if time had layered memories on top of it. Than gave her a gentle nod, as if to say, "You're not alone this time." She exhaled slowly, then stepped forward. The gate creaked open, and with it, the past began to stir again, quiet and resolved, waiting to be faced. Dieu Han stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. She explained that her friend Yen had gone missing recently. The police were now involved and investigating the case seriously. Dieu Han hoped someone in the village might have seen or heard something. She wasn't here to cause trouble, only to find her friend. She looked at Mr. Chen with a quiet plea in her eyes. Any detail, no matter how small, could lead to the truth. He looked startled at first, then quickly turned stern. His eyes narrowed as if trying to erase something from memory. "I don't know anyone named Yen," he said sharply, voice defensive. Dieu Han flinched. She wasn't expecting hostility. The man who used to be warm now seemed cold and guarded, then instinctively stepped closer to her. Even the child sensed something was off. Sometimes silence doesn't hide ignorance, it hides guilt. Dieu Han took a deep breath, refusing to back down. "Sir, the police are involved. This is serious." But the man waved her off with irritation. "So what? You come here to accuse me?" His voice rose, louder than necessary. Neighbors might hear, and maybe that's what he wanted, to turn truth into noise. Dieu Han's hands trembled, not from fear, but from disappointment. Without another word, he turned away. "I'm done talking. I don't welcome visitors," he muttered, stepping back inside. The door didn't slam, but it closed like a wall rising between them. Dieu Han stood frozen, her heart aching, not from rejection, but from knowing something was being hidden, then sighed quietly beside her. They didn't find answers, but they found something just as loud: resistance. They walked away in silence, but their minds screamed with questions. Why did he lie? What was he hiding? And why did his eyes shift at the mention of Yen? Each step away from that house felt heavier, like they were leaving behind more than just a closed door. They were leaving behind a truth buried under fear. Dieu Han clutched her baby tighter, as if trying to protect not just him, but the fragile hope still burning inside her. then looked back once, just once, hoping for any sign the old man would change his mind. But the curtains didn't move. The house stayed cold and quiet. It wasn't just stubbornness they faced. It was fear, maybe guilt. And in that silence, a new kind of urgency grew. If they didn't act soon, the trail to find Yen might vanish forever. If you were then, what would you do next? Would you dig deeper? Even if it meant uncovering truths no one wants to face, would you risk everything for a friend who's vanished? And a young mother desperate for answers, sometimes. It's not the strength of our legs that carries us forward, but the weight of the people we refuse to leave behind. Like this video, subscribe to the Dieu Han RV channel, and share this journey with those who still believe in compassion.